Apollo, show your love for Snoop Dogg.
And most people try to stick to one singular brand, and how do you keep these side missions balanced with your music and staying true to your vision?
I love being me because I like trying things. I like being experimental, and I like living on the edge.
It's not every day you see a top celebrity in a local cheap diner, let alone a legendary Grammy award-winning rapper and actor like Snoop Dogg.
The award for favorite rap hip-hop artist goes to my man Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Known for his simplicity and humble nature, Snoop Dogg has always been the face and ambassador of Chicago town, so it was not too shocking to see him walk into a local Chicago diner for a quick meal. But Snoop's simplicity on this particular day led him to an unusual encounter. His visit turned out to be a story that would be passed across generations in Chi-Town, and it would leave you shocked. A low-key arrival in Chicago. On a bright and sunny afternoon in a small old town in Chicago, the atmosphere was warm and calm. Life was the same as any other day, with the residents going about their daily routines, but something unexpected was about to happen. Snoop Dogg stepped into one of their beloved local diners, and he was about to make history in that old, forgotten town. This historic moment was so emotional, so much that you might want to grab your tissue. The diner was loved not just for its delicious food, but also for the inviting atmosphere it offered to everyone who visited. In this special spot, memories blossomed. Families came together after Little League games, and visitors found comfort in a food menu that felt just like home. Snoop Dogg had been in town, immersed in the filming of his latest documentary, which would reflect his childhood days in Chicago. During this time, he had quietly developed a deep affection for the area. He felt an irresistible pull, not only from the breathtaking buildings that served as an ideal setting for his documentary, but also because the town reminds him of his beginning years with other Chicago-bred celebrities like Kanye West and Dr. Dre. Stepping into the diner, Snoop decided to indulge in a large pasta meal, generously given with spicy jalapenos, a combination that never failed to excite his taste buds. He also had his favorite coffee with lots of chocolate, a delightful blend of simplicity and rich taste.
Phil's Coffee's getting $15 million in funding from a mix of investors, including Snoop.
Settling into the diner booth by the window, he absorbed the ambiance around him. Wood walls decorated with local sports team pictures and framed family photos, capturing the essence of customers who had embraced this spot as their second home. It may not have been glamorous or trendy, yet that was precisely its power. In this special spot, it wasn't the person serving or the ambiance that drew people in. It was the undeniable sense of ownership and belonging that enveloped them. Snoop enjoyed every bite of his pasta, his mind wandering to nothing in particular, when suddenly, a lively group of teenagers burst in, still dressed in their uniforms from a recent baseball game. Their energy burst through the small space immediately, laughter and jokes flowing effortlessly among them, the thrill from the pitch still vibrant in the air. They frequented the diner, and it was evident they had a close relationship with the attendants. The attendants welcomed them with a nod and a playful question about their game, teasing them about a missed catch in the final game hours, which sparked even more laughter among the group. This is where it gets pretty interesting. As Snoop Dogg sat in silence, observing the scene before him, one of the teenagers caught sight of him. With a mix of astonishment and excitement, they exchanged glances, gently nudging their friend while subtly gesturing toward his booth. In an instant, the entire group had identified him, and the thrill of their recent game faded, replaced by the excitement of having a surprise celebrity among them. As they made their way to his booth, they put on an appearance of nonchalance, yet their bubbling excitement was impossible to hide. With a warm smile that radiated kindness, Snoop welcomed them with his usual graciousness and humility. He had experienced moments like these before as a world star, yet in Chicago, there was an unmistakable difference. Amidst the absence of paparazzi and press, there was an authentic thrill radiating from the kids who admired his work. When they asked about his songs,
Milwaukee's newest concert venue debuts this weekend. Potawatomi's Amplified concert series starts tomorrow with rap icon Snoop Dogg.
Particularly the Grammy award-winning tracks with his best friend, Dr. Dre Snoop, always the gracious host, shared captivating stories about the production journey. The dialogue naturally shifted to his current documentary, Horizon, which was being shot in the vicinity. It was not long before people began taking photos. The diner became busier by the minute, with more customers walking in to see Snoop and to order food just so they could stay a little longer and witness this surprising event. Snoop, in the meantime, looked around, observing everything with great curiosity. He noticed the colorful decor, the Cuban music playing softly in the background, and the families and friends chatting and laughing. The atmosphere seemed to interest him, and he appeared genuinely relaxed and happy to be there. To prolong his stay at the diner, Snoop again ordered a sandwich and asked for everyone to serve the same. Once he received his sandwich, he took a bite, and a satisfied smile crossed his face. It was clear that he enjoyed it, and people around him chuckled, amused that even a successful rapper could find joy in something so simple. But Snoop's curiosity didn't stop with the food. After a few bites, he looked at Marta, the head of the diner, who was still watching him, amazed that such an important person was sitting in her restaurant. Snoop asked her about Chicago's culture, wanting to know more about the food and the music that gave this place such a warm and lively feel. He wanted to know what has changed since he left. Marta's eyes lit up. She was thrilled to share her culture with someone as famous as Snoop Dogg. She told him about the flavors that made their cuisine so special, and about the cultural music and dance that Chicago locals loved so much. Feeling inspired, Marta suddenly had an idea. She looked at Snoop Dogg, and with a playful smile, she asked him if he'd be interested in trying a little Chi-Town salsa dance. She explained that it was a tradition to enjoy good food and then dance, adding that it would make his experience complete. Snoop, who was not known for dancing, seemed a bit taken aback but then chuckled, nodding in agreement. He stood up, a bit hesitant, but willing to join in the fun. Marta put on a lively salsa song, and soon, the restaurant was filled with upbeat, joyful music. It seemed like the day was just getting started. The viral aftermath of Snoop Dogg's encounter. People cheered as Snoop Dogg tried to follow Marta's lead, stepping and twirling as best as he could. It was clear that dancing wasn't his strength, but he gave it his all, laughing along with everyone. After all, it's not every day that a famous rapper known for his bold ideas and ambitious projects just casually strolls into a small restaurant in the middle of Chicago. So naturally, people began to pull out their phones, and they filmed the moment, creating videos that quickly spread across social media. When the song ended, Snoop was out of breath but grinning widely. Marta and the customers applauded, showing appreciation for his willingness to join in their cultural experience. Snoop, still catching his breath, thanked Marta and sat back down, feeling as though he had just done something truly unique. The dancing had created an atmosphere of warmth and fun that brought everyone in the restaurant closer together. As Snoop caught his breath, a young man named Javier, who had been watching everything with great interest, gathered the courage to approach Snoop. Javier was Marta's son, a college student who dreamed of becoming a rapper. He admired Snoop Dogg for his groundbreaking achievement in music and entertainment, and he saw this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to speak with someone he looked up to so much. Javier introduced himself, explaining his interest in music and asking Snoop Dogg about his work, managing the Death Row Records. Impressed by Javier's passion and curiosity, Snoop answered Javier's questions and shared information into his projects. The other customers listened, with their minds blown by Snoop's stories and explanations. Snoop talked about his vision for the future, explaining how he hoped to make life better through music. It was clear that Javier was inspired, and Snoop seemed genuinely pleased to encourage a young mind eager to learn. Then, seeing Javier's excitement suddenly brought a strange idea to Snoop's mind. He looked around at the restaurant, the people, and the community that had shown him so much warmth and hospitality. He turned to Marta and Javier, and he suggested something surprising. He asked if they'd be interested in turning a part of the restaurant into a music studio and hun. and it was a place where young people in Little Havana could come to learn about the art of music making, share ideas, and maybe even work on projects. He thought it would be a great way to inspire more young people, like Javier. The idea sounded exciting and wonderful to everyone there, as if Snoop was bringing something extraordinary to their community. Marta and Javier, though still in shock, nodded enthusiastically, touched that Snoop had been inspired by their small restaurant to make such a big suggestion. But as the applause died down and the crowd returned to their meals, a quiet uncertainty settled over Marta and Javier. They had lived their whole lives in Little Havana in Chicago, a place where dreams often seemed to stay small, where opportunities were few, and where promises were sometimes made by people who didn't follow through. Even though Snoop Dogg was a rich individual, they couldn't help but feel a little skeptical. The idea was amazing, far beyond anything they had ever imagined. But could someone like Snoop really follow through with such a promise? Marta, wiping her hands on her apron, glanced at Javier. He caught her eye, and they exchanged a look that said everything without needing words. They had both heard grand promises before. Many people had walked into their restaurant, charmed by its warmth and character, offering help or ideas that never materialized. They knew how the world worked. People made big plans, but few actually came to fruition. They were both quietly wondering, would this be another empty gesture, or could it really happen? As Snoop stood to leave, he smiled and told them he would reach out soon. He promised once again that with his resources, he could make the music hub a reality. He thanked them both for their hospitality, giving Marta a warm handshake and ruffling Javier's hair. With that, he left, walking out into the Miami heat, his black Rolls Royce waiting for him outside. Marta and Javier stood there for a moment, still in shock, the sounds of the restaurant around them suddenly feeling distant. The crowd had quieted, returning to their meals and conversations, but Marta and Javier couldn't help but wonder, would this be the moment that changed everything for them? Or would it fade away like so many other promises had in the past? Later that day, Snoop Dogg started to trend on social media. People who had been in the restaurant started to post clips and pictures of what had gone down. As more and more people posted their photos and videos, social media exploded. Videos of Snoop Dogg dancing salsa, slightly awkward but clearly having fun, spread faster than you can imagine. The clips showed a side of him that people weren't used to seeing. He wasn't the serious businessman or the inventor of groundbreaking technology. He was a person, just like everyone else, laughing, dancing, and eating a sandwich. What do you think about this incident at the Cuban restaurant? Why does everyone hate Tom Cruise? Despite being one of the most successful actors in Hollywood, Tom Cruise has had his fair share of hate. Having starred in numerous blockbusters ranging from Mission Impossible to Top Gun Maverick, Cruise is that actor that most people envy. However, his controversial lifestyle has generated a lot of backlash and criticism from the public. One of the major reasons why Cruise is disliked is because of his deep involvement in the religion of Scientology. Mind you, people consider Scientology a cult.
Scientology is probably the most successful new American religion of the last 100 years, and it is spread through every corner of the world.
Cruise has been a member of this controversial church as far back as 1990. He was introduced to it by his first wife, Mimi Rogers. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a lot of controversy ranging from allegations of brainwashing to human rights abuses, and also it's operational like that of a cult. Tom's staunch advocacy for this religion has led many people to criticize and become suspicious of him. This is only the tip of the iceberg, as what comes next will blow your mind away. You see, Tom isn't only hated for his religion, but for his narcissistic attitude and personality. Tom hasn't had a blissful marital life, and this can be attributed to his personality and church. All his 3 marriages ended up in divorce, and they were accompanied by intense media scrutiny and negative publicity. His divorce from Nicole Kidman in particular was very controversial. This was majorly due to the allegations that the Church of Scientology was a major factor in their split. It was also speculated that Nicole Kidman refused to join the church, and because of this, she was viewed as a threat by the church who wanted to alienate her from Cruise. It's also said that the estrangement between Nicole and the kids she shares with Cruise is the result of a properly planned campaign by the church to turn Cruz kids against their mom. His sudden divorce from Katie Holmes was also full of controversy.
A Hollywood ending. The famous couple the tabloids dubbed Tomcat is calling it quits as Katie Holmes files for divorce from Tom Cruise after 5 years of marriage.
As it was speculated that the Church of Scientology played a role in their divorce too. His inability to make his marriages work has not only hurt his reputation in years, but has made people dislike his entire personality. His personality is so questionable because he sometimes acts in a bizarre and fanatical manner that many people just find distasteful. A good example is the infamous interview he had with Matt Lauer in 2005, in which he was chiding Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants when she was pregnant.
And she doesn't understand the history of psychiatry. She doesn't understand in the same way that you don't understand it, man.
This got people upset because he isn't a doctor, nor was he in any position to do that. He has also been criticized for showing willingness to go to war legally against anyone that criticizes the Church of Scientology. This is a tactic that the church is known for. He has even gone after some media outlets in the past. A good example was in 2003, when Cruise's lawyer Burt Fields said in an interview that Tom Cruise will sue anyone who says he's gay. This crosses the line for most people because these media outlets are just legally exercising their right to freedom of speech. Also, Cruise's behavior off-screen eventually started to hurt his career. In 2006, Paramount Pictures ended their 14-year partnership with him, worried that his strange actions would harm the earnings of the upcoming Mission Impossible 3. It wasn't just his connection to Scientology that concerned the studio. Cruise's odd behavior on Oprah, where he jumped on the couch while professing his love for Katie Holmes, made many people question his sanity.
What about the Tom Cruise on the couch incident, which was a pretty iconic moment? Do you see Tom at all since those days?
Redstone told CNN that although they liked Cruise personally, they decided not to renew his contract because his recent behavior was unacceptable to Paramount. There have also been different claims of Tom Cruise trying to control his exes, although these are minor compared to accusations of his disastrous micromanagement of his films. According to Variety, Cruise's reboot of The Mummy received terrible reviews, partly due to his interference. Insiders say he changed the entire script and had a heavy hand in the direction, editing, and marketing of the film, leading to a poor $32 million domestic opening weekend. While international returns eventually became better, insiders still had doubts that the film would cover its production and marketing costs. This isn't the first film affected by Cruise's meddling. Actor R. Lee Ermey, a friend of the late director Stanley Kubrick, claimed that Kubrick blamed the failure of Eyes Wide Shut on Cruise's ego. Kubrick reportedly told Ermey that he thought the film was piece of S***T because of them. Cruise has also lost most of his female fan base, and this is because when Katie Holmes, his ex-wife, was pregnant, Tom Cruise had to respond to rumors that he wanted her to give birth in complete silence. Scientologists believe this prevents lasting emotional harm caused by negative vibes during birth. According to ABC News, there were even rumors that Cruise had a special pacifier made to keep Holmes quiet during delivery, though Cruise insisted the church's silent birth method isn't as strict as people think. Telling women what they can and can't wear can make you very unpopular with them, but telling them how to give birth is even worse. Tom Cruise isn't just hated by the public. Even some celebrities have voiced out their dislike towards him. Celebrities that dislike Cruise. One of such celebrities who have personal issues and dislike for Tom Cruise is David Miscavige. David is the second leader in the Church of Scientology and a very powerful man. Although these two men have somewhat of a brotherly romance, David didn't have a good first impression of Cruise. And just like people say, first impressions matter. According to Ronald Miscavige, who is David's father, when Cruise was newly brought into the church, David had planned a welcoming party for Cruise back in the early 90s. David went as far as arranging for the personal chef of the Scientology founder L. Hubbard to prepare Cruise's meal. But Cruise would turn up 4 hours later to the chagrin of David. David was so upset with Tom's attitude that the duo had a bad footing at first, but things would be patched up some days later when Cruise and David went ski hunting together. However, in the case of Brad Pitt, things were downright messy, and it seems like the pair never settled their issues. Brad and Tom are on the same level when it comes to acting skills and popularity. And although the duo ran in the same circles, there has been tension between both men for almost 2 decades now. This all started back at 1994, when the pair starred alongside each other in the movie Interview with a Vampire. The stakes were already high for both actors. For Tom, it was the doubt of the writer of the source material. While for Brad, the stakes were high because he was working with an actor like Tom Cruise. Also, there were the conditions of the set, the dark scenes and long shootings, that made Brad miserable. For Brad, it felt like his role wasn't up to that of Tom, and in most cases, it was like he just had to sit around and watch while Tom Cruise was the huge star on set. Brad also said that Cruise liked bugging him and that there was a point during filming that he realized that he was North Pole while Cruise was the South. After this movie, the duo never worked together again, and their rift was never settled. Tom didn't just have issues with fellow actors, but even media houses and people of the media house. One such example is the rift between him and Matt Lauer. Matt is best known for his works at NBC, where he interviewed many big names in the world. One of those famous interviews was the one he had with Tom Cruise 15 years ago. The two bumped head a lot during the interview, and this happened during the press tour that was held for War of the Worlds. Matt didn't spare Tom during the interview, as after some initial harmless questions, he went straight to asking him about Scientology and his relationship with Katie Holmes.
His relationship with Katie Holmes spawning 1,000 tabloid headlines.
Cruise became upset during the course of the interview that he went as far as calling Matt a glib. Tom would go as far as attacking Brooke Shields for mentioning that she took antidepressants. He would say that this has affected her career. This was very distasteful to Brooke, and it comes as a shock that he would attack Brooke like that given their friendly history together. You see, when Brooke appeared on national television, she mentioned taking antidepressants whilst dealing with postpartum depression. This will anger Tom as he would go on a long talk chastising Brooke that she didn't know enough about medications.
There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. What happens to the antidepressant, all it does is mask the problem. There's ways of vitamins.
Brooke would then attack Cruise by saying he should stick to saving the world from aliens. This was a jab on Cruise's 2005 film, War of the Worlds. Cruise would later apologize to Brooke and invite her to his fairy tale wedding to Katie Holmes. Sometimes the worst part of a breakup is the damage it can have on mutual friends, and this was the case with Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise. Russell was the personal friend of the couple, but he was much closer to Kidman. And it didn't come as a surprise that Russell sided Kidman after the pair ended things with each other. Russell strongly supported Nicole Kidman that he disassociated himself completely from Tom. A source says that Russell is a loyal guy and hasn't been able to stand Tom Cruise for years because of the way he treated Nicole, and that if he had continued to befriend Tom, he would be betraying Nicole. So he just decided to completely shut out Tom from his life. But despite all these, Tom was still excited to start alongside his former friend Russell when they were both casted for the 2017 movie The Mummy. Even his fellow actors seem to have had 1 or 2 bad experiences from Cruise, and Thandie Newton is one of such. You see, back in the year 2000 when Thandie had to work with Tom on the first installment of Mission Impossible, she had some scenes with Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, the star of the movie. But all didn't seem as glamorous as people would think about working with Cruise. Tom was a perfectionist, and for Thandie, she saw that firsthand on the set of the movie. His professionalism sometimes causes him to lose his temper. She also went as far as describing Tom as a very dominant individual. Although he did try to be a nice and decent person, the level of stress he deals with causes him to snap sometimes, thereby losing his temper. One such situation was when she was having trouble reading her less perfect lines. Cruise opted to read her lines while she read his. For Tom, he believed this should have helped, but his method didn't help at all. Rather, it made things worse. Looking back, Thandie says that her working experience with Tom was less than comforting. Tom Cruise is definitely not every celebrity favorite, and more of them have spoken out concerning their relationship with the star. Stay tuned, because the best part is yet to come. More celebrities speaking about Tom Cruise. Many years before her death, Lisa Marie Presley opened up about not having a good relationship with Tom Cruise. She mentioned that she hated him and the religious organization he belonged to. Lisa might not be an actor, but being the child of the popular singer Elvis Presley brought her fame. Fame that would make the Church of Scientology to seek after her. Although the church wasn't able to recruit Elvis when he was alive, but they did bring in Lisa and her mother. Lisa was introduced into the church by her mother when she was just 9 years old. She had long suspected that their inclusion into the church was solely because of their big names and large fortune. After she left the church in 2014, Lisa became vocal about her hatred for the church and Cruz. In an interview with Tony Ortega, she accused David Miscavige of taking advantage of her family's fortune. She also went on to declare her hatred for Tom. According to her, they met 20 years ago, and she decided never to be in the same room as him again. One would think it's only celebrities that detest Cruz, but even some football players do not like his personality. A good example is David Beckham. Back in 2007, when David and his wife Victoria Beckham moved into Hollywood, the soccer star was greatly embraced by some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Tom Cruise and Will Smith were one of the couple's earliest friends. Tom Cruise would even become very close to them, that it's accurate to say that Cruise and the couple were the closest of friends. However, things started becoming cold in their relationship as the Beckhams drew away from Tom. A source says that the couple did this because Cruise was insistent about the pair learning more about Scientology. This hurt Tom because when the couple moved to Los Angeles, he had thrown a big party and invited big names from the church, but they had stood him up. And although the couple tries to reconnect with Cruise, he had refused and ignored them. For Justin Bieber, he had in the past challenged Tom Cruise to a fight. In 2019, a tweet of Justin went viral, and in it, he challenged Cruise to a fight, saying that if the actor didn't meet him in the ring, then he was afraid, and that would be something he could never live down with. Justin even tagged UFC President Dana White to the tweet, asking him if he would be willing to host the fight. Cruise never responded, and Justin would later back off. He would then add context to the tweet when he was riding around with James Corden. Justin admitted that the reason he brought up the fight was because he was just being stupid. No one seems to know if Justin had a prior beef with Tom, but maybe he actually harbors some ill feeling towards the star. Even though Mark Wahlberg isn't a very popular celebrity, he has no time for Tom Cruise. The two actors have never worked together, and it seems they never will after Cruise's comments in 2013 offended Wahlberg. That year, reports said Cruise compared his movie work to the intensity of fighting in Afghanistan. Wahlberg responded later that year without mentioning Cruise by name. According to TMZ, Wahlberg said that for some actors to actually sit and talk about having SEAL training, and the fact that their movies contained some gruesome training doesn't mean that it should be compared to the work the Army does in Afghanistan. For Wahlberg, he doesn't care about what someone has done, but what the military is doing can't be compared at all to an ordinary movie. Wahlberg questioned Cruise's sense of humor. Shortly after, Cruise's lawyer told people that Cruise had clearly been joking, adding that Tom is a staunch supporter of the American troop. Given the history between Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, no one would expect her to still be in good terms with her ex-husband. Although the two were once the power couple in Hollywood, but their fairy tale love came to an end with their shocking divorce. And this changed things for Nicole Kidman forever. The divorce came as a shock to the world, and Nicole, who had gotten the message out of the blue from Cruise. Tom Cruise went public with a cryptic message about the divorce, saying that Nicole knew why, but she obviously had no idea why. Many people have speculated that it was due to Tom's involvement with the Church of Scientology, but both he and the church have denied these allegations. After the divorce, the children that the couple shared opted to stay with Cruise while Nicole moved back to Australia. Things became so estranged between her and her adopted children that even at their weddings she wasn't invited, which was at the request of Tom. Some other actors like Leah Remini have opened up about their issues with Tom Cruise. Leah's issues with Tom Cruise isn't about their shared profession as actors. Since leaving Scientology in 2013, the King of Queens star has repeatedly criticized its most famous member. When Top Gun Maverick was a hit, Remini warned fans, saying on social media that Tom Cruise knows exactly what goes on in Scientology, and that they shouldn't let the movie star charm to fool them. She also named him several times in a lawsuit against the organization, calling him essentially second in command, and claiming it's a high crime in Scientology to even try to criticize him. She even went as far as calling him evil at one point. Although it's unrelated to their Hollywood careers, Cruz's role in Scientology has made him a central figure in Remini's public fight against the group. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next updates. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.